Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Erin Molan Show. As always, it's so great to have your company. We really appreciate you guys tuning in from wherever you are around the world. It means so very much. Now, as always, let me remind you, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, leave a review, comment, engage with us. We love to hear what you think. I go through and read all the comments, all of your suggestions, all of your feedback. So keep it coming. We love it so very much. And of course, if you enjoyed an episode, or if it made you think, or even if it maybe challenged you, or you thought, oh gosh, Erin's got it wrong, share it. Get other people's opinions. That really helps us as well. So thank you so, so much for that. Now, I've got a very special guest coming up for you. He needs no introduction. His name is Dave Rubin. He, of course, started Rubin Reports. He now does so much more than that. But he's kind of a goat, like an OG in this independent media space, going out on his own. He did it almost before anyone else. He's led the way and he's stuck with it, and he's now one of the superstars in this world. His show consistently rates right at the top of the charts every single week. That's no mean feat. And it's much harder to do, by the way, when you don't go down this rabbit hole warren of conspiracy theory and chaos that a lot of the others that we're seeing in this space do day in, day out. Now, Dave talks a lot about this, about what it was like when he joined and what it's like now with these new kind of players that have entered the field. And the unique aspect that Dave brings to this conversation is he actually helped discover, i.e. Candace. Now, he gave her an opportunity early on, and now he's watched her kind of turn into what she is, and that's difficult. He was saying to me during this conversation, I have a room, with presents in it that she's given me, I was at her wedding. So this is a really tough space for a lot of people to now watch what essentially she has turned into. And there are different words, and you would have your own description in your mind, and I'll leave it there. But the same with Tucker Carlson. The contradictions and the hypocrisy in this space is utter insanity. And Dave, as someone who had very strong relationships with both, gives really good insight into that. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this conversation with Dave Rubin. Enjoy. Dave Rubin, it is such an honor to finally have you on the show. Thank you so much, for having me on yours as well, which I think is coming up over the Christmas week, which I'm so excited about. But thank you so much for joining me here on the Erin Molan Show.
It's a pleasure, Erin. I really, as I just said to you on my show, I'm a fan. I'm actually a fan of yours. We all exist in these little digital boxes, and you can never tell if anyone's real or authentic or what. But like you, especially in these last 2 or so years, not just your political insight and the bravery you've shown in defending Western values and all of those things, but the trip, the voyage from going from the mainstream thing to the independent thing, it's just been a pleasure to watch. And, I'm kind of OG in this thing, like I've been around the block in the independent media thing for a while. I was sort of early in on going independent and home studio well before COVID and all of those things. And so I think I've become pretty good at spotting people that should be out there saying what they think, that are doing it for the right reasons. And you're definitely on that list. So it's a pleasure to be with you.
There are moments where I need a little bit of reassurance. I generally get it from my
There
mother.
you go.
I will take it from you. That means so much. And that's what I wanted to start with. You are one of the OGs in this space. Now it feels a little bit dime a dozen, and look, not everyone will last, and that's, that's how it works. But what attracted you to it in the first place, and were you nervous that it would completely fail miserably?
Oh, God. Well, it's so interesting. So I started the version of the Rubin Report that people know now in 2015. So it's a little over 10 years ago now. And that's when I was doing long form interviews, which at the time, everyone was doing Snapchat, and you remember 6-second Vine videos. Everything was getting smaller and smaller and truncated. And, I'm 49 years old. I'm a Gen Xer. And even then I was like, something about this doesn't seem right. It's just making everyone stupid, and you could see attention spans being broken. And I just felt that there were so many important things to talk about, and nobody was kind of doing it anymore. And I became friends with one of my childhood heroes, Larry, the great Larry King, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But I was a huge fan of his as a kid. And I remember watching CNN all the time at night. And I just loved the way the guy interviewed. He was curious. He was thoughtful. He wasn't combative. And what I thought was so interesting about him was that he would have, if he had 5 shows a night, Monday through Friday, it would be like, here's Magic Johnson one night, Jerry Seinfeld the next night, here's Steve Irwin the next night, here's, it could be anything. Oh, then here, Desmond Tutu, and then here's, some guy that's a cult leader. And he treated everybody with respect.
Yes.
And I just thought there was something so interesting and nice and thoughtful about it. And so when I started doing this version of the show, the long form interview show, which now I also do a daily news show like you do, but when I started the long form interview show, nobody else was doing it really. Larry was in his later years and he was doing a digital show at that time, but he had sort of aged out. And really me and Joe Rogan were the first 2 doing it. Now you flash forward 10 years to where we are now. Everyone and their brother has a podcast. There's more podcasts than people at this point. And I feel, and it's one of the reasons that I like you, I feel it is incumbent upon me to tell the truth. I tell people what I think. I do not consider myself a journalist. I am not a journalist out on the ground exposing things. I am processing information and doing my best to tell people what I think about it. And you can agree or disagree, and some people agree with me for a while and they love me, and then they end up hating me, and some people hate me for a while and they end up loving me, or every version of that. But I think what we've seen in the media, in the alt media space, has been very weird, because mainstream media, all they had to do to not be in the situation they're in right now was not be abject horrible, right? Yeah. They could have been pretty bad, like 80% bad, and most of us would have gone along with it. We really would have, because you kind of wouldn't have, if things are just moving along and they're just, they're lying about most of the stuff, but occasionally they give you something true. It would pass, because people are busy with their lives and work and kids and sports and whatever you love and whatever you're doing. But they were so bad about every big issue, whether it was the Russia hoax, whether it was very fine people, whether it was Jussie Smollett was lynched, whether it was all of the COVID nonsense. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
They were so bad about all of it that they basically forced the alt media to exist. And then what happened, unfortunately, now in the alt media, and this is where I think you and I play a big role, I suppose, in cleaning some of it up, is anyone can do this, right? Anyone can get in a studio like we are and put on clothes that look appropriate, right? Like you could be on Fox News right now, and I could be on CNN, although they won't put me on CNN. But I mean, we're dressed the part. We look. Wouldn't.
I mean, outfit-wise, I do get a fair bit of criticism for inappropriate dressing. But that aside, everything else you say is true.
No, Erin, legally to be a female on cable news, you have to be showing shoulder and part of the arm. I always say it's hilarious. Women have to show this part of their body. But if imagine if Wolf Blitzer showed up in a cutoff. Nobody wants to see that hunk of. Ugh.
I'm trying to think about midriff. Lord, yeah.
Oh yeah. No one really wants to see that. But anyway, the point is. The point is, so many people started doing what we do. There's so many voices out there. And that, of course, that is wonderful, right? And that's what the marketplace of ideas about and everything else. But now there's sort of no journalistic standards anymore. And just because Candace Owens sits with a microphone in front of her, a certain set of people think that means what she says is legit. Or we've watched people come from mainstream that are now independent, and in a weird, someone like Tucker Carlson, he seemed to be better or saner when he had some barriers. I'm not even defending those barriers, but then he gets into our world and now he's become completely the reverse of what most people thought of him. So there's just a series of things right now that I think that are really gonna be great challenges going forward in terms of how are you and your neighbor going to ingest information and then believe you are on the same planet. That is truly going to be the challenge for the information age. I don't know what the answer is. All I can do is tell people what I think, and we'll see what happens.
It's a really fascinating point you make, and particularly the kind of journalist, non-journalist, and that's, I mean, you're a commentator, right? People deeply care what you think, which is clearly why you're so successful and you have such a big following. I worry about, you look at a Tucker Carlson and there's almost a legitimacy to him that wouldn't have existed had he come out and shown this side of himself very early on. But he's almost more dangerous, would you say, than a Candace Owens, who we kind of, I know has definitely shifted in a lot of ways, but she is almost so outlandish that it's just ridiculous. Whereas Tucker kind of, he does this thing where if you're not invested and you're not highly engaged, you might listen and just think, oh yeah, that must be fact. It's, he's a journalist. He's, like, I worry about that side of things, about people ingesting this
absolutely.
and being critical.
It's a huge issue. Now, first, it's worth mentioning, because people always clip these things in the most nefarious sorts of ways, that I have no doubt I can speak for you, and neither one of us want them to be deplatformed or kicked off these sites or anything else. They can say whatever crazy crap they want, and that's just fine. And then, by the way, we have the right to rebut that and counter it and everything else. So, it's funny because if you say anything, particularly against Tucker, you get this massive onslaught online. You're trying to cancel him and all this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, he talks shit for a living and people are allowed to just do that back. That's the exchange. That's how it works. Okay, so that's one thing. As for Candace, I take no pleasure in talking about her because we were very, very good friends for many, many years. I was at her wedding where I actually sat next to Charlie and Erica Kirk. They weren't even married at the time. That was the first time I met Erica, but I sat next to Charlie and met Erica there for the first time. I gave Candace her first big break. She was a little YouTuber, and we used to, on my show, about 8-9 years ago, we used to do something called YouTube Week, where 5 days in a row I would take 5 different, it was sort of similar to the Larry King thing that I just mentioned. I would take 5 different YouTubers from different disciplines. One would be in politics, one would be in gaming, one might be in music or something, and just give them a shot. And she was one of the ones that we plucked out when she had like 20,000 subscribers. So we have a long, long history. I have gifts in the other room from her for my kids. So I take no pleasure in what has happened with her, but I do agree with your assessment. She has gone so far down the rabbit holes where now she gets disproven so often that it's not really worth wasting much time on her. It's sad, I would say, as a friend or at least a former friend, and I would say it's not good that so many people are following her down those things, but I think that exists in a certain spot. I think the thing that's going on with Tucker is a little more bizarre because he seemingly has rebuffed or rejected all of his previous positions in a very, very fast, in a very quick way, but then also just turned on so many people out of nowhere. Sorry, go ahead.
Actually, Dave, what I want to do, you just referenced that. There was a clip that was shared, a succinct type clip of him shifting positions, including and saying he didn't know people. And then I want to play this for my audience now.
Dave Rubin, whoever that is.
But I don't have the control that you have, which is wonderful.
Who's Tommy Robinson? You know Tommy Robinson. He seems like a fraud to me.
Tommy Robinson, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us.
Laura Loomer, that's world's creepiest human. I don't even know where she came from or who she is exactly. Seth, whatever, from the Babylon Bee.
Yeah. Seth, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Quotes from that Josh Hammer guy.
Well, that's incredible. Yeah. Josh Hammer.
So, I mean, you don't even need to convince. It's right there. He has essentially, not even just on positions, but also don't know him. Hey, never heard of him.
Yeah.
Hey, he's a fraud. You're amazing. What?
So either we have to deduce that he has some sort of early onset dementia, or maybe the nicotine that he's chewing all the time is breaking his brain. I do think that's possible. It's made in India. He's very America first. It's made in India, so maybe there's some bad stuff getting in there. But what he's doing there, the reason that clip went so viral, I think, is because it illustrates what he's doing. He's doing little sort of mnemonic tricks, basically, to belittle people. Look, if he doesn't like some of my thoughts, he's more than welcome to challenge me on those thoughts. Yes. And for many months, I reached out to him privately to say, I'll go on your show, we've done many times, and we can discuss it, or you can come on my show. I offered privately to broker peace with him and Ben Shapiro. Joseph, could you grab the back of my book here? I mean, the guy literally blurbed my book. He blurbed my first book, and he's pretending he doesn't know me.
You seem to be a common factor here with all the people that have then gone bat beat crazy. I'm a little concerned at the role you might be playing.
Look at my guy. Look at him. He's crawling on the floor to get the book. That was very impressive. He just broke his neck. But I mean, literally, this is don't burn this book. It's my first book. It was a New York Times bestseller, blah, blah, blah.
That's amazing.
Dave Rubin is one of the bravest, smartest people I know, as well as a tremendous television presence. And it's like,
wow.
Tucker, maybe you hate me now. Maybe you think I'm a whack job and I've gone up the deep end and everything else. But pretending you don't know me, it's just so stupid and thin.
Particularly when it's
disappointing.
online, like if you were saying something or being a little bit misleading, but you knew there was nothing concrete that could dispel that, okay, fine. Still not a great decision. You're not showing a moral compass, but to do something when there's evidence that is there that is very easy to find, it's silly, the entire thing. Do you look at the current landscape and see it potentially coming closer and closer to this peak where it falls apart a little bit? I feel like we're close to it. And I feel like they've gone to places now where everyday Americans, Australians, whoever's listening around the world are going, okay, I'm a little bit, this is maybe too far.
One of the things that people say to me more than anything else, if I'm, at the supermarket or when I was just in your amazing country and we went to a whole bunch of cities and did a bunch of theaters, the thing that people consistently say to me more than anything else is, Dave, you keep me sane, right? Yeah. Like, I'm just not lying about nonsense and I'm not trying to keep them outraged or anything else. I know there are ways I could behave that would increase our, we had 1 billion views on YouTube last year, so I'm not starved for clicks, but I know there's a way we could do it to, as hungry as we all are for clicks. But I know I could do this in a more bombastic way. I know I could say a whole bunch of things about Tucker just now that would go viral. I know I could do the same thing to Candace. I get it. I've been through it. Again, because I'm in this game for a while, I've seen it all before. Do you know what Kayfabe is?
No.
So Kayfabe, Kayfabe, you need to do a little digging on this. Kayfabe is the word that really was created around professional wrestling, that you're watching a sort of scripted reality and having an actual emotional attachment to something is scripted. And that's kind of what politics has become. Believe it or not, Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan were friends. They really weren't fighting. I'm not even sure the Iranian sheik was Iranian. It's made up. And that's what politics has become, right? And so I've just been in it long enough that I refuse to participate in a certain level of the spectacle of it. But to your point, are we hitting sort of a crescendo or a cliff or something? I do think that is possible. The outrage can only last so long. It burns very hot, but it burns quickly. And I also think that that's what will give people like you and I long careers, because if you do what is true, the truth, you can't move the truth. The truth is the truth either way. And people will flock to you for that. So yes, can you get a burst of views by saying the worst possible things about people and lying about everything? And of course you can. But over time, that doesn't work. Now, I would also say that there is something interesting happening on the mainstream media side of things here in America, which is that, as you know, Bari Weiss from the Free Press now runs CBS News. Yes. There is a good chance she will moderate them, get rid of some of the propaganda, and moderate them, let's say, a little more to the center. If she does that, it might be that NBC and CBS or ABC and CNN even and the rest are like, boy, she moderated and the business model started working. So I don't think they're going to come around for the truth's sake. No. They might come around for business sake, but that's the beauty of capitalism. So I think if they start moderating and doing better, and then people are just looking at their phone and like, oh my God, Tucker Carlson said this about blah, blah, blah. And it may all end up with some sort of massive, bubble type burst. We'll see.
It's so fascinating, and I can't wait to see what she does. I think it'll be very challenging, and my hesitancy to declare complete faith is nothing to do with her and her ability, but just how entrenched so many people there seem to be in propaganda.
Oh, it may be way too late. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion by any stretch, but I'm just saying there's a little something different in the ether. Yeah.
And you're right about, networks don't care about truth. They care about profits. But if she can demonstrate that it's actually more profitable to tell the truth or to get closer to a version of it, then that's a wonderful thing. I love what you say as well. And I look at this myself. I can go so hard at someone's ideas or their behavior and I will destroy it. But I'm very I don't go after people. And I think people, yes, they like to look at a 2-second clip where someone's blowing up or there's a massive thing or someone's insulting someone. But what they actually invest their time in is things of substance. And I feel like the more of the chaos that exists around people like you and I, who I think are a little bit, and I'm flattering myself here, I admit that 100%, a little bit similar in that way, is that you're actually a decent, nice person who's willing to listen, and you'll challenge ideas and you'll challenge narratives and you'll challenge people, but not in a way that is low or nasty. And I think that, to me, that's wholesome, and it's still entertaining and it still delivers and it's still engaging. but I feel like that will always win out over the other stuff that might steal a little bit of attention every now and then, but it's unsustainable.
Look, it's the tortoise and the hare, right? Like you can run, and you can cheat, and you can do all those things, and you can just do all of the things that are the base level things. And by the way, I'm not saying I've never participated in it. I'm not saying that Twitter hasn't at times made me the worst version of myself and all of those things. Like, trust me. Yeah. But it's not my driving force, and I think one of the things I started
exactly. Yeah,
it's not the bread and butter. I started as a stand-up comic, and I had a pretty decent career as a comic for a long time, and I like the fact that my show is funny now because a lot of people can do the news, and I try to do it in a sillier, funny, kind of frenetic way. But having all of those years struggling as a comic and standing out on street corners, giving out tickets so that 6 people would show up and I'd work for free and all that crap and all the stupid jobs I did and all of that stuff, but having lived through that to now be successful now, it taught me a little something about patience, and it taught me a little something about hard work. And unfortunately, I think the other sort of pain point for everyone to be able to jump on this and broadcast whatever they want. I'm not against it, but what it does is you can become an overnight success like this. So people who have had no pain points can suddenly become huge stars, and nothing about that past.
Yeah.
And without that, that past is what makes your present in essence. And so because everything is now about becoming viral and all of that stuff, you have no idea. Again, someone can just freaking buy a desk. My desk cost $100. Pretty sure we got it at IKEA. The jacket's H&M. Like, you can do it and make yourself look legit pretty quickly.
Yeah. And again, it only enables, I think, even more so the greater the pool at the bottom, those to rise to the top, of which you are maybe one of the top 2 or 3 in the world, and that is an incredible top one in the world, an incredible place to be. Thank you.
Why
Dave,
I'm still shopping at H&M, I have no idea.
I
really got to stop doing
say,
that.
I mean, I'm in my wardrobe with not even IKEA. I think IKEA was out of the budget, and I have to do my own hair and makeup. You should be in Gucci. I don't even know designer. Is Gucci top end? That might not even be top end enough.
I don't know. I've got one guy here who can crawl on the floor and hand me a book. That's pretty good.
He crawls on the floor for my show. I'd understand if he crawled to protect your brand. He's crawling for me. That is a beautiful thing. Dave Rubin, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to having you on again. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Erin.
Now, as you guys know, I travel a fair bit around the world and talk at different events. I do different fundraisers, conferences, the whole thing. And often when I'm in those environments in front of a live crowd, what you get from me, it's a unique experience to do something in front of a live audience. It's somewhat different to sitting here in a studio and talking to you. Now, in both circumstances, you get the authentic me. I'm incapable really these days of being anything else. I think the old me, when I was in mainstream media and well prior to this existence, was always trying to be the kind of person I thought everyone wanted me to be and have those kind of beliefs. And I had to kind of fit into different narratives that were held by the workplaces, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's completely different. You now get a raw, unfiltered me. But it's a different experience to hear me live. And I can often be a little bit looser as well in those circumstances. So I want to now bring you a little bit of me talking live to an audience. Hope you enjoy, and I'll be back after to wrap things up.
It is my pleasure to introduce to the stage Erin Molan and Brandon Tatum for a conversation about what it means to be standing with God and doing the right thing, something very rare these days. Brandon Tatum, Erin Molan. So, quick introduction. We decided to invite both of you tonight because there is something that you both have in common. And it's not just that you have moral courage, but you have moral discipline. And Brandon and I chatted about that today. I think that to have moral courage, you first have to have discipline. Courage is not natural. It's actually incredibly rare. This is something I learned from Dennis a few years ago. I I asked Dennis when I was disappointed with people, how could people be so disappointing? Dennis, are you disappointed when you see that people behave poorly? And I was frankly shocked because his response to me was, Marissa, I'm actually more surprised when I see good people who are brave. And I didn't understand that until this year. I didn't understand how rare it is to find people who are brave and have moral clarity and discernment and really moral resilience. I grew up as a kid, I learned about the Holocaust. I never understood how the Holocaust could have happened. I think now I kind of understand. I think I kind of understand now. And so as Dennis has been preoccupied with good people and how good people are made, and many people in this room have children. There are a lot of young people here with kids, my kids' ages. I'm curious, how do we make more Brandon Tatums? How do we make more Erin Molans in the world? And what is it that made you? What made you discerning and brave? And so let's start with ladies first. Erin, you've come here from Australia. You are known all over the world. And for some interesting reason, an Australian news anchor decided to speak about the defense of the West and the defense of Israel. Why? Who?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. You're doing a phenomenal job. What a room. Douglas Murray was superb. It's an honor to sit here next to you. You're amazing. And thank you everyone in the room for your support of this incredible organization. Honestly, they do God's work. So I ask you, as someone who is not donating myself tonight, I ask you to be incredibly generous if you can be, and thank you for your support. For me, I think it was never so much a question after October 7 of which side I would be on. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. It was so clear to me that this was good versus evil straight away. And I'm the daughter of a man who was a major general in the army who went to war to defend my country, was willing to give his life in defense, not just of my nation, but of what we value, what we stand for. And I think what terrified me so much after October 7, it wasn't the fact that 2 days later there were people in my country in front of a very famous landmark celebrating that massacre, chanting death to the Jews, gas the Jews. That didn't scare me because there is evil in every part of the world. It disappointed me greatly, it disgusted me, but it didn't scare me. What scared me was the silence that followed of my fellow Australians, most of whom I know are decent, God-fearing, staunchly supportive of what is good in the world, but their silence utterly terrified me. And that's when I thought, we have a problem here. I looked at our leadership in that country, and that was a moment for my Prime Minister to come out and determine that is not who we are. That is not what we stand for. That is not what we accept in this country, not on my watch. But instead he cowered. And not one person was held to account. And I've watched a country that I love, that my father would have died for, just slowly decay over the past 2 years. So for me, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I've got a 7-year-old. I understand that this issue is so much bigger than just Hamas-Israel, though that would be enough for me to stand. Like you, I learnt about the Holocaust. And what I could not understand is the people who did nothing. And I never thought I would be tested in that space, but it was never a choice. It was something that I did and I will do again for the rest of my life. It's an honor to stand and to fight for what matters.
Brandon, your moral discipline, where does that come from?
Well, I think it's very simple. It comes from God. When you give your life to God and you dedicate yourself to something greater than yourself, it's quite easy for you to have the moral clarity. And I think that's the biggest principle for me. It's not that I'm so good or so great and so smart. It's that I do understand where I'm at and God's plan for my life. And that drives me every single day to do what's right. And when I look over the world, I understand that it's not a natural instinct for people to be bold and courageous. It's not natural. People do want to cower, especially in the face of backlash. With the amount of hatred I get online now, which is bizarre to me. I mean, they hate me more now, or some of the people. It's just crazy people, not y'all. Y'all the smart ones. Somebody next door is hating on me. But even when I came out and said I supported Trump, I didn't get as much hate. When I stood up against Black Lives Matter, which is I would say a domestic terrorist organization, I didn't get as much hate. When I stood up against the government during COVID, all of that foolishness that they were doing, telling us to wear masks, getting double vaxxed and all this so crazy stuff, I still didn't get that much hate. But for some reason, when I just put my thinking cap on and I said, this is wrong what happened on October 7th. This is wrong how they're portraying Israel in the media. Anti-Semitism is out of control. And when I did that, people began to turn on me that were originally on my side. People that are on the right call me the N-word and bash me every day. And do I care? No. However, I do see the perspective that people are conditioned, unfortunately, with a mind virus. And once you go down this path of a mind virus to hate Jews, God opens your mind to be a reprobate. And I'm telling you now, you guys can see the people online doing it. The ones that hate the Jews, they tend to fall off the wagon on everything else they talk about. They've lost their entire minds, diving into conspiracies, turning on everything that they claim to believe in God, claim that they believe in God, turning on it. They use the word platforming. They encourage people to come on their shows and say the stupidest stuff that you've ever heard. The very foundation of being conservative and putting God first, they wipe it all away because they hate Jews.
We got into this fight together over censorship. We didn't want to get deplatformed. I mean, PragerU sued YouTube. We're dealing with constant deplatforming. The right has been incredibly sensitive to the idea of deplatforming people who have differing ideas. But now the concept on the right is the tent is so big that every vile person deserves to be platformed. What's your reaction to, does the tent have any borders? Do we lose our soul because we just allow everybody to be part of this big tent? And what's the cost of having no borders in a tent?
Well, I think it's very simple. We all agree with free speech. Say whatever you want on your platform. Be an idiot. It's fine. I'm going to challenge you. But what we don't accept is that when you have somebody on your platform or you bring somebody up and you don't challenge them, what kind of coward are you? I'm going to shut up, I swear. When I look at the chair there where Charlie would be as my friend, if someone were to talk trash about my friend and bash his wife, the last thing that you would do is be able to come on my platform. The last thing that you would do is to probably be able to talk to me without being confronted. And we see people just mindless in letting this stuff go. Enough is enough. We have principles, we have standards, and you can spew that crap on your own platform, but you're not gonna come on here and be a fool.
Erin, I know that you've been watching carefully, and I know that conservatives have inspired you as an Australian who is fighting for freedom of speech, who is fighting for common sense and patriotism in Australia. You come here and you're witnessing what is happening here in America on the right, the fight not just between left and right, but right and wrong. What's your take?
I think, I'd say it's been fascinating to watch, if it also hasn't been so gross in so many different ways. People that I once admired and looked up to and hoped to emulate one day, I feel very let down by. And again, and you make the point, that is their right to absolutely say whatever the hell they want to say. But it is our right to then call them out and fight back. And I feel like in this space, I spend so much of my time calling out those on the left who are complete hypocrites. I call out feminists who march in the street having tried to get a bloke in a workplace sacked because he complimented a woman's dress, to then walk outside and join a pro-Hamas march and deny the rape of Israeli women. I call that out because it's BS. So you have to then do it on the other side. And I think, again, it doesn't mean that you're deplatforming people. It doesn't mean you're cancelling people. But I think it says a lot about who you are, the kind of things you let go by. And my dad, again, was a major general in the army, and he always spoke about the standard that you accept is, that you allow is the standard that you yourself adhere to. And I've always, he raised me to speak up when things were not right. So I look at it and I think, they care more deeply about, and I know I completely butchered that saying, so if anyone would like to yell it out, what is it? The standard you walk past is the standard you accept, yes. So I feel like they are motivated so much more by money, so much more by ratings, so much more by the chaos they create. How ironic is it that so many of these people who were on network television, as was I up until last year, celebrated their freedom by going independent to say that they could say the truth now and not be controlled by anyone. Ka-ching, it changed very quickly, very quickly. They're all compromised in so many ways, and it's sad to watch in a lot of ways.
It's interesting. You had a dream job. You're a sports news anchor. I think every kid wants to be a sports news anchor. I can't imagine how hard it is, even in Australia. It must be very competitive. You had this dream job. And you have a child, you have a young daughter, and now you're dedicating your life traveling all over the place. What has this new life cost you?
Look, for starters, I do it first and foremost for my little girl. I have a 7-year-old daughter called Liza, and it's probably the only part of this life that I struggle with, or that I stop and question, because the cause I don't ever question. I know beyond doubt that I'm on the right side of history, and that this space is noble and worthy. But I also know that what I do endangers her in a way that didn't exist previously, and I make that choice every day to publicly fight in this space. She does not. So that's probably the part that's very hard, but pick your hard. It's harder now, absolutely. It's harder now, but in 5 years, if people like me, if you don't speak out, what kind of world exists for our children? What kind of world? So, like all of us in this space, I have lost a lot, but you know what? I look at differences of opinion I have with people when it comes to politics, or when it comes to COVID lockdowns, or when it comes to particular politicians. You can have a difference in opinion, and I can say, you know what, I still love you. You lean to the left, fine, let's debate it, then let's go out for a drink. In this space, though, when it's values-driven, when it is at your core, do you believe in good or do you believe in evil? I look at the people I've lost and I say, good riddance. I say, what a great way to cleanse in a lot of ways. So I think I've had a tight chest for 2 years. Safety is a massive issue. We all get it. We get, the difference here. I used to get threats when I was hosting sport, but they would be from knob shiners in their mother's basement. Now they're, sorry, are we allowed to say that? No, I'm so sorry.
This is not PragerU Kids.
I'm so sorry to the priests in the room. I'm so sorry. I promise I'm going to dedicate myself more to religion at some stage.
Don't worry, the rabbis forgive the priests.
I know,
We're
thank
good.
you. But the threats now in this space are from those who have a bit more of a tendency to carry them out. So it's tough. But I have gained so much more than I have lost. It is such a privilege to exist in this space, and it's an honor. It's an honor to do it, and it's something I hope my daughter, when she's a little bit older, will be a little bit proud of and will understand why there were sacrifices in the short term for what I hope will be a world that she is proud of and she can exist freely in the long term.
Yeah. Sadly, we have to wrap up because Erin has to catch a flight, but I'm going to channel Dennis Prager one more time and let you know that Erin is single and ready to mingle. And so please text me if you have anybody to set her up.
I have horrendous taste, by the way.
I'll screen them first.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
I've
you
got to
all.
run.
God bless you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed something a little bit different there. Thank you so, so much for your company. We'll have a weekend bonus episode coming up for you, which will be an absolute cracker as always. And then I'll see you next week, Monday, 6 a.m. ET. Love you all. Thank you so much for your support. It's been a massive week. Alex Witkoff, make sure if you've missed it, you have to watch or listen to that episode. Same as the Qatari opposition leader. That is must watch, must listen. And of course, Dave Rubin. You probably have just watched and just listened, but if you skip to the end, which would be quite bizarre behavior, but hey, each to their own, go back and listen to him and watch him as well. We'll see you soon. Bye.